What is going on, guys, and welcome back to the Bit of Footy YouTube channel for the preliminary final predictions. Now, last weekend I had a dog supporter on to do the predictions, and this week, I've got the same thing happening, but this time we've got the Bev Show on. How are we doing, Bev?
Good day, Bitter. Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm going well. I'm pretty excited for the weekend, that's for sure. I'm sure you are too, even though your team's not there.
I'm pretty excited about it. We've got two ripping preliminary finals to, predict for this weekend. And yeah, it should be fun. So without further ado, let's just get straight into it with the first preliminary final at Optus Stadium being between the D's and the Cats. Bev, why don't you kick us off? How do you think this game will pan out?
Could go either way, I think. I mean, Geelong were pretty disappointing in week one, but they were pretty good last week against the Giants, so they sort of got themselves back on track. But gee, I've been loving Melbourne this year, and I just think their last few weeks have been outstanding. That win against Brisbane a couple of weeks ago was superb. So I think they'll get the job done here, and they'll get through to their first grand final in a very, very long time. But I wouldn't be writing off Geelong at all, that's for sure.
Yeah, you would never write off Geelong.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. They're just they've had such a good year, but I guess Melbourne have sort of had the better year, winning the minor premiership against the Cats, funny enough, in that thrilling game down at the Cattery. This game is going to be very interesting. It's being played at Optus Stadium, not the G or the Cattery this time, so it could really go either way. But in saying that, I think the D's have just had the much better season. They've been thrown with a bunch of challenges from a bunch of teams, and they've just looked, they've sort of just matured this year, I'd say. They've been Absolutely. A really mature team this year, and I really cannot go past them, to win this game. So I think I'm going to have to go the D's to win this game as well. I just feel like they've just been the better team all season. But again, you never know what can happen in finals. The Cats, they've also been equally as good this season. They've really got the team that could do it.
I was just going to say, I mean, last year they went into that preliminary final against Brisbane, and I didn't think there were any chance of beating Brisbane in that game, and they did just that. They beat Brisbane and then got themselves to the grand final, and they lost in week one of the finals last year too. So you can't write them off, but I mean they are without Tom Stewart, aren't they? And Mark O'Connor's out too, and I think Parfit's out for the season as well. So they do have a few injuries, but I guess they still have a strong enough team to beat Melbourne, and they did only lose to them by a point a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, I think the D's, I think you've summed it up perfectly. I think the D's, they've been the best team this season, and I think especially in the last couple of weeks, their defence is always so strong, and I think they've also been able to hit the scoreboard on a more frequent basis as well. So I do hope Melbourne gets up for the Melbourne supporters that have been suffering for so long now, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's been a long time. It's been a long time in between flags for these supporters. So I'm not saying they'll win the flag, but I just hope they make it. I really do hope they make it. And if there's any season, it's most likely this season. They've just looked really good throughout the majority, and even their first final against the Lions absolutely blew the Lions out of the water. So yeah, it's going to be the D's for both of us in that preliminary final. As we move on to the second preliminary final between the Power and Bev's Bulldogs, as I can say, it's going to be a very interesting match, this one. I'll kick off discussions for this one. Oh, jeez. It's going to be a ripper. Last round, they played against each other at Marvel Stadium. It was only a 2-point game in that one. And I believe earlier in the season, the Dogs went over there at the Adelaide Oval, and the opposite result happened. The Dogs beat the Power. So they've got, 50-50 results in the season. So it's going to be an interesting game, this one. Unfortunately, Bev, it's going to be sad for you to hear this, but I do think the Power will get the job done at the Adelaide Oval. Last year they came up against the Tigers, and obviously we know how good the Tigers are in a preliminary final, so it was a bit hard for them. They only came, I think the margin was like 6 points in that game.
Yeah, it was pretty close.
It's a pretty close final, that one, but I don't know. I just feel like they're starting to look really good, the Power. They've had that week off. They've, refreshed. Their youngsters have refreshed as well, which is good for them. They've got some good pace in their side, the Power, with the likes of Rosie, Butters, and even Motlop. He showed up in the qualifying final, had a great game as well. So, it should be a good game. Unfortunately, Bev, I'm going to go the Power in this one to get the job done. But, it should be a ripping contest.
Oh, that's all right. That's okay. I don't mind going in as underdogs. That's for sure. And I mean, Port Adelaide, they are the ones to beat for sure in this game. I mean, they've, like you said, they've had the bye. I mean, the Dogs have gone to Launceston and then Brisbane. They're now in Perth, and then they've got to go to Adelaide. So they've been travelling a lot. Although they have only lost the one interstate game this season. That was in Launceston against the Hawks, who are usually hard to beat in Launceston. So their interstate form's pretty good, but Port Adelaide, I think, have won their last 7 or 8 or something like that. So they've really sort of they strapped into gears and got the momentum at the right time, didn't they? I think. I don't know about you, but I was wondering whether they even would be a contender in the finals, and all of a sudden they finished second and they beat Geelong in week 1. Didn't expect them to beat Geelong as easy as they did, and so they're definitely. They deserve to be favourites in this game. I do think it's a 50-50 game, though. I mean, like you said, the Bulldogs did beat Port Adelaide earlier in the season at the Adelaide Oval. I think it might have been a 19-point margin or something, then 2 points a couple of weeks ago, albeit it probably should have been a bigger margin given Port Adelaide had a lot of chances. But, it's a 50-50 game. Obviously, I'm feeling good. I think the Dogs are a chance. I think they can win. Obviously, we're sweating on Bontempelli to be right for the game. Possibly Stefford Martin could come back in. But obviously, I'm tipping the Dogs. I'm not going to go against them. And fingers crossed, go the Doggies.
Go the Doggies. I mean, in fairness, I can see the Dogs getting it done. It's going to be a great final to watch. I can see it going either way. Yep. The Dogs, they just look really, really good last weekend against the Lions, and that was away at the Gabba as well. So it was against a hostile crowd, and they managed to get the job done. Joe Haddison, he bloody came on, and he looked kind of good in the last half when he came on. He kicked that goal to get the Dogs back in it. And then obviously had Bailey Smith, who played an outstanding game as well, kicking the 3 goals and got how many disposals. It's going to be an interesting final. I can't wait to see how it pans out. I love the preliminary finals weekends because it has a lot of tension building around it. So, and I think, this preliminary final weekend doesn't take that away. So it's just going to be a great weekend to watch, and I cannot wait to just rip into it. So thank you, Bev, for being on this week's tipping video. Hopefully you enjoyed being on it.
No worries. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
And make sure to check out Bev's YouTube and also Facebook as well. He obviously uploads a lot there, so can't count the Facebook out of it. And thanks guys so much for watching the video, and I'll catch you later this week. Cheers.
Bye.